What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Here we are in 2023. I still can't believe that date. I wrote down 110 today. We're 10 days in. So how's everybody doing? I'm still kind of feeling like I'm all over the place. Still trying to manage and balance my personal life and work life and all the new projects that I took on this year. So I'll keep you guys posted with that. But a quick update for my personal life, I decided to at least hire a nanny part-time to open up some, or give me some time to maybe be able to sleep at nights and open up some free time so I could have me time and self-care time so I can actually overall be more productive and happy, a better parent, better boss, and all that good stuff. So that's that part of it. And then for business, the salon is still growing. So it's January. Normally, it's a lot slower with services compared to end of the year. So we saw a little bit of a dip, and I don't know if a lot of people are kind of on the same boat with business. January is usually a slower month in the beginning, and then, it starts picking up as, I guess, closer to Valentine's Day. I want to say people want to maintain or get stuff done too. So this is what I've noticed in the beauty industry. So we're still looking at for creative ways to market and do all that. But while we're as less busy at the salon, one thing that I started doing is actually with the lash artists, I'm having them play around with different looks. We're still lashing, we're practicing, we're kind of keeping it exciting and fun. And I wanted to share that with you guys because a lot of times in business or in anything we do, if you're slow or business is not as booming as we would hope, we get discouraged or kind of, I don't know, on the down, like negative feeling side. Cause like, oh, I wish I was busier. You don't really know what to do when you're sitting there. But I'm sharing with you guys so you can use that opportunity. If anytime you're slow or if you don't have clients back to back, there's stuff that you could actually be working on, and take advantage of that. Look at it kind of as a blessing in disguise and use that time to work on whatever you needed to. So for us, since we relaunched the salon, and from the last time that I kind of did everything, things are a little bit different now, as in like lash styles, what clients might want now. So we're creating a whole new like lookbook and styles, like we're literally doing sets on doll heads to have like visuals in front of us in order to use with the clients. So anyways, that's a quick little lesson reminder that if you have free time, downtime, don't be bummed out. Instead, use it to work on something else to grow your business in the long run. So about this next episode, so let me introduce you to our next guest. Her name is Roxy, and I know her through a mutual friend, and she is so hilarious. It's a little hard to pull that out of her in the podcast, but in real life, she's extra hilarious. So I am looking forward to introducing her to you guys. Give her a follow, check her out on social media. She jumped into her own business, her own world of fitness after working in the corporate environment for a long time. All her life, she's known that she's a creative person. She's not really like academic type of person. She needs to do something artsy and fun. And she finally took the leap of faith, and it's working out for her. And it's really kind of nice talking to her as an individual, because initially when I asked her, how do you feel as an entrepreneur? She's like, wait, I never even thought about myself as an entrepreneur. Like, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm a contractor, but at the same time, honestly, that's the hardest type of entrepreneur, even if you're just your own employee, because you still have to manage yourself and your clients and your time just like you would manage a business, but on a smaller scale. So I told her, you are an entrepreneur. But it was really cool to talk to her, like I said, because when you do speak to someone who just kind of took that leap of faith and is doing their own thing, sometimes you forget if you've been doing it for a long time. So for someone like me, I've been in my own world for I don't know, a long time, but I forget that initial step of just taking that first step. And we talk about that in the podcast, how she had to kind of suck it up and gather the courage to literally walk into a studio, her first job ever as a fitness coach, to get the job. Even if she said it's going to be like as a receptionist, whatever it is, let me just get my foot in the door. So that was super inspiring and I think very encouraging. So I hope you guys enjoyed this next episode. Let's get to it. Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today we have Roxy, who is also known as MisFit. We are so excited to get to know her a little bit more and get to pick her brain about her experiences as becoming an entrepreneur and basically leaving her 9-to-5 and doing her own thing. So we're so excited to have you here. But I also know her through a mutual friend too, so I'm excited to even just connect with her again and catch up. So with that said, welcome. So excited to have you. Thank you for wanting to come on our podcast.
Of course. I've known you for a while, and when you started doing this, I was really, I had a moment of like, wow, like, that's pretty cool that you're starting this, and not a lot of people take a chance on themselves. And I've seen you continuously take chances on yourself and grow and be successful. So it's,
thank you.
I'm excited to be part of what you're doing. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Super excited. Please tell our listeners a little bit about you. So who are you? What's your business? And yeah, let's start there.
Sure. Well,
actually, before we do that, maybe here my icebreaker question. So, if you could be in any like fictional world, what would it be?
A fictional world? Wait, this wasn't in the email. I didn't get to think about it.
That's why it should throw you off a little.
Okay. A fictional world would. Gosh, I'm just thinking of like Marvel movies and
that's
stuff
fine.
like
you
that.
Can pick it.
But
the first thing that comes to your mind.
I'm just picturing, honestly, like a
Wonder Woman.
A meadow.
As a Wonder Woman.
I'm picturing meadows, and honestly, everybody's just happy in the meadows.
Okay.
Just like being really silly and having a lot of fun.
I can see
it's
that.
Just like, let's be in the mountains. I don't know. Maybe it's like a hippie life comes to mind. So yeah, just let's be happy in the mountains.
I love it. Okay, now tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, and what your business is.
Sure. Well, in the business realm, people either know me as Roxy or MisFit, and I respond to both. But to my friends and family, I'm just Stardox, and I'm a certified personal trainer. That's been my job for the past almost 6 years.
Wow.
So time has flown by. And I'm surprised I'm even doing this, to be honest.
So what made you want to kind of quit your 9-to-5 and just get into this world of something that you actually have a passion for?
Well, I know you through Ani, which is where I met her at my last job. Which
now I remember that. I had forgotten. It's been a while.
So honestly, if it wasn't for Ani, I probably wouldn't be doing this, I wouldn't have sparked this journey, because when I got that job, it was in Burbank, actually, right around here somewhere. It was my first like full 9-to-5 corporate job. It was going to be like my attempt at climbing the ladder, or just like seeing like what I'm made of, right, in the corporate realm, because I've never related to that. I've always been a creative mind and wanted to be in the mountains and just having fun. So I was like, what am I gonna do with my life career wise? So I ended up at that job, and that's
what were you doing there? I forgot.
It sounds way more fancier when I say it than what we actually did, but we were doing background investigations for pre-employment. Right. So if you were like applying for a job, we would check all of your credentials and check
that's right.
Your resume, basically make sure you work where you said you work and all that stuff. So we were doing that job I was at that job for maybe 2 years, and I met your friend Ani, and she became my good friend Ani, because she's just such a silly person. She would totally be on the mountains with us. So, the only thing I liked about that job was getting to go and hang out with her. And I say hang out because that's basically what we did at work, was hang out. We had no supervision. Wow. We would get our work done. But, 8 hours sitting at a desk, like nobody's working for 8 hours straight.
It's usually the 20-80 rule.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually looked this up. I think the max people are productive on a 9 to 5 job is less than 4 hours.
Yeah.
So about like 3 hours.
Yeah, there's research for that, honestly. That's like the 20-80 rule. Honestly, it's 20% of the time we're our most effective. The rest of the time we're just kind of doing minor tasks. Or
when you said 80-20, I completely thought
no, we're 20% of the time we're actually being productive.
Okay.
The 80% of the time whatever we're doing really doesn't matter.
Yeah, so if you can imagine 80% of the time me and Ani, she's in one cubicle, I'm in another, and we're just, I would be leaving a voicemail and she would make a fart sound in the back, and we never left a legitimate voicemail ever. So if you could imagine, it was a fun environment to go and be at for 8 hours of the day. It was the only way we both got through it. So when she quit and left to another job, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
what am I doing here?
What am I going to do here? Like, how am I going to make this worthwhile? And
you know what the funny thing is, actually, since this is a business and personal development podcast, it's a cool and fun fact. Like, most of the reason why people like are happy or they like their job is a lot of times because of the environment. If it's like their colleagues, like the space itself, or their boss. Like, did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought a lot of it has to do with pay, because I'm very like goal-oriented person, and pay kind of comes with that. So initially my thought is like, okay, people love their jobs because of how much they get paid. But it's real. That's not a top priority. Did you know that?
Honestly, I didn't really think about it, but I believe it because I've been that person where I will do something as long as it's fun. I'm not thinking about like, how much money am I making here? Am I getting what I'm worth? Am I, I'm not a business mindset, which is why I'm probably going to be a different conversation than what you're used to. But I'm hoping like if anybody else out there is like me, is willing to take a chance on themselves, because I did, and I'm totally not in that mindset of thinking towards business. So basically when she quit, shortly after, I got promoted to supervisor, which was a surprise to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually doing good at my job where they want to promote me. So I got promoted, and I was like, okay, maybe now I could get serious and just, see how far I could take this position in this career. That lasted all but a few months because I worked really hard, and they told me, we're going to give you a raise and we're going to continue to help you grow and all that stuff. So everything was like verbal communication and promises, but nothing ever actually took place. So I was working more. I wasn't getting paid. It was always, I'm just waiting for an email from the CFO to approve it. And like that just went on for months and months and months. And there was a manager that they brought on from outside who had no idea how to like do our job in order to be able to manage it. So she kind of made my life a little bit difficult. And she was one of those people that we would verbally agree to something, and then in an email with our boss on it, she would say something totally different and throw me under the bus. So long story short, I got one of those emails one morning, and I remember I got to my desk, I sat down, clicked the computer, I opened it, and I read this email. And when you have a moment where the switch just flips, I wasn't even mad. Like, I was so calm. I imagined like this orchestra playing in the background, like Titanic, as I packed my desk. So I was just like, read the email, I'm done, packed my desk. And what was really beautiful about that moment was everybody was packing their desks because we were relocating cubicles. So none of it,
you were packing.
Nobody knew, like, no, it wasn't suspicious to anybody. So I'm really happily packing my desk. I called my husband. I was like, I just need you to tell me I can quit this job. Aww. So I was like, I'm ready to go. I just need you to back me on this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but just, I know it's not this. Yeah. So he's like, he worked close by. So we met up for lunch, discussed it. He's like, yeah, go for it. So I took an extra long lunch that day, marched my butt to HR. And I was like, I would like to be processed out. Like, I want this to be my last day. And I left. I had no idea what I was going to do next. I wasn't even thinking about personal training. Honestly,
that's hard. Like, it's like people like not having any plans and just taking that step. That takes a lot. Yeah. How did you know like that's what you needed to do? Was it just like an intuition?
It was like that moment. A switch just flipped. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know this isn't it. So I could leave this conscious, clear, and I'll figure
it's
out
not right
what's
for
to
you.
come later, or immediately, because I was like, I need to find another job ASAP.
Money.
Yeah.
Who's gonna pay my bills?
So that's basically how it happened. Like, Ani left, and I had no more purpose at that job. I tried to find purpose, but it wasn't for me. So yeah, I think long story short, I just knew I didn't want to do that.
Wow. And so that's when you decided to kind of figure out, okay, now what do I want to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of went into a panic because I had never not worked. Even though I was never business minded, I was always a hard worker. I was working ever since I was 15. This is the first time I'm without a job. I'm 25, 26 years old. And I'm not used to this, like being idle. Either I wasn't going to school and I wasn't working. I'm like, what do I do? And it was very unfamiliar. And also I had pressure. Like, my mom was like, what are you gonna do?
Oh
You need to get a job. And they're like, oh, she's married. She doesn't have kids. She's not going to school. She's not working. What is she doing with her life? So there's like immediately pressure coming from all sides. I was like, can I just get a minute, like to figure myself out?
Well, honestly, props to you for doing that, because sometimes it's hard, like to even just take that leap of faith to be like, okay, I need a break. Like, I need a pause and I need to figure this out.
Yeah, for sure. So I took that time and I was applying to jobs that I would want to be in it. Like, even if it was a receptionist at a company that or an industry that I was interested in, because I went to school for set design, so I was really interested in that.
Oh, nice.
So I applied for like receptionist jobs at like Kyori, or something in the realm that I thought I would like
you would enjoy the company or environment, at least.
Yeah, I was like, even if I'm not doing the dream job, at least like I could witness other people doing it, and like,
and it's like you're footing the door, that's very smart.
You never know what can come of it. So, and I knew I was a hard worker, so I'm like, I know that wherever I go, I'll work hard and something might come of it. So then one day we got a flyer in the mail. My husband brought it up. He's like, hey, look, there's this flyer from GCC, and they're doing certification programs for personal training. And I was like, I know I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've always been into fitness. I just never thought of it as a career. I was like, that is cool. That's something I could get behind. Because what was different about this was it was different from other certification programs that you do online. This was, I got to go to a lecture, do a lab. I had to do internship hours. So it was very hands-on.
It felt a lot more like complete as a training.
Yeah, I had done the weekend certifications in the past. I honestly never even found out if I passed, because I was just like, this doesn't teach me anything. I'm just reading information. I don't know how to be a trainer doing this. So I really enjoyed the fact that I got to put a backpack on, go to school.
I didn't know like GCC, which is like a local community college, has a program like that people can really like look into, and it's pretty affordable, right? Since it's at a community college.
Yeah, I think it was like an 11-week program, and I think at that time it was like $600 to go through the program.
That's great.
It was just, we would never check those flyers we got in the mail. It almost felt like I was meant to see that and go there. I don't want to like over spiritualize everything.
I believe that, though. Honestly, I do believe that. I do believe like we do get like kind of little signs. Like, I don't know. It's worked out
like
for
a little
me,
nudge.
I've listened to like those things in the past in my life, and it's worked out. So I do kind of believe in it, even though it may sound kind of crazy, or maybe sometimes we see or believe things that we want to see and believe in, but I believe in it.
I do too. I think that life gives you a little nudge. Like that flyer probably had been there maybe before and I never noticed it, but at that time in my life where I was trying to figure out what to do.
Awesome. Okay, so that's how you got into the fitness world. You're like, okay, I can try this.
Yeah, that's honestly how it happened, was just, taking a chance, getting mail, checking it,
and going for it.
I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just like, why not try? Let's find out instead of wonder.
So from that moment with making that decision to, okay, I'm gonna be a fitness trainer, what were the next steps that followed that brought you to what you're doing today?
The next steps that followed from there. So after I finished the 11-week program, I was really encouraged at from my abilities, because to be honest, I never I always had a big giant question mark about what is my offering, what is my capacity of my skill, my craft,
what's special
what's
about
special
me?
about me? What are people going to want to either hire me for or pay me to do? It was never something I was.
What's your talent?
Yeah, exactly. I just know I work hard, and I could work hard at.
I love that, honestly, because not a lot of people even think about it enough to even like say that or try to figure it out. But you took the moment to realize, okay, I actually maybe don't know myself as good as I think I know myself. Like, who am I? Like, what am I good at? What do I offer? How do I stand out? And I think these are such great questions that everybody needs to kind of ask themselves. So then we also kind of figure out what our value is, you know? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you kind of have to figure out what is your what's special about you. And it could be just the fact that, hey, I hustle really hard, and I could be either at a coffee shop, or I could be at a Home Depot, or I could, wherever I am, I'm going to work hard. And like you said earlier, it's not always about how much money you're earning at your job, but the environment that you're in. So it could be just as meaningful and worthwhile. So when that gave me some confidence, or like, okay, like I was able to kind of stand out and perform well through these exams, and physically hands-on going through it. We had a proctor that would take you had to take a client through a whole session, and they would grade you, and they gave me really good feedback. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm on to something here.
I love that. I love that so much, because it really does sometimes it really takes somebody like believing in you for you to believe in yourself. And that has happened to me like throughout my life. I've come across like a lot of people, and I've seen like a significant amount of switch in them of like employees mostly, because I've worked with a lot of like different people in the past. And anytime I believed in someone to do like a certain task that they even had no idea that they could probably be good at or do, they outperformed. So it's kind of like magical. So like I'm encouraging people to also like encourage other people, and believe in other people. And if you see somebody really believes in you, it almost sparks something in you, right? That you're like, oh, maybe I can do this.
Yeah. I really appreciated that. And I make it a point, like you said, like whenever I notice something good about somebody
and you're really good at that.
Really?
I love that. It's really pleasant, It's really nice to hear too, because not a lot of people go around like complimenting each other. And I think we need to have more of that in the world. So
it really goes a long way.
It does. It really does.
I know it does for me, so bring down the compliments.
Oh, you're so beautiful. No, you're so great. You're so fit.
No, it's usually like if I'm
you're
like
so
doing
funny.
something. Oh, that's my favorite one.
Yes, honestly, you guys, knowing her more in the personal world too, I've hung out with her through again like our mutual friends. She's hilarious. Like really, really funny. Like naturally funny. Like if you were to tell me an extra talent, I think that could be your edge. Like
really?
I would love to put you on like a comedy show, or like on a stand-up comedian, like anything like that. I think they're like naturally good at that too. So.
You hear that? I get a lot of slack at where I work. They just roll their eyes whenever I say a joke. Like I really try to come up with original jokes, and I'm like, you guys, I got one. Like, can I say it? And then I'll totally mess it up, or I'm like, no, I forgot it, and so I get a lot of slack.
But you're
at
naturally
work.
funny, Like there's people who have to try really hard to tell jokes, and then it's like, it's kind of funny. But then there's people who are naturally funny, so even if they're not necessarily saying like a specific joke, they're just funny.
Okay, cool.
And I
I'll
love
take it.
that. So I think that could be an edge for you too. So
I think it has been when it comes to attracting clients. They're like, I want to be around that funny person or the encourager. You when you make people feel good, honestly, no matter what job you're doing, but if you really want to grow, if you're working in like service and with clients and people, you could be mediocre at your skill. I'm not saying like don't know what you're doing, but
no, I believe
it really is how people feel when they interact with you. How was their experience with you? And I think that's what keeps people coming back to a particular service. It's not like, oh, that person was really smart, or that person really
the best
had so many degrees on their walls, so I'm gonna go. It's like, no, I felt really good when I got to interact with that person.
I love that. I love how you put that. I honestly, like, again, another simple words, we all know how important customer service is, right? So, but I love the way you put it, is they're gonna remember how they felt. A lot of things in human nature, of human behavior, of what we do, is how we feel, right?
Yeah.
So then if you are in a service world, and if you make your client feel good, and if it's a positive feeling, like you said, they're gonna come back and they're gonna want to be around you. And I never thought of it that way, honestly. Well, maybe I did, but now it's like almost reminding me of how you put it. I love it. I would love to share that with more and more people, because I think it really dramatically helps with business. Because again, I've worked and trained a lot of people too in my industry, and there are lash artists that are amazing lash artists, like providers, but then they kind of don't have clientele, or it's harder for them to build and or even try to be successful, and they don't know why. And I've noticed a lot of the big part of it is the customer service, or like the human touch part of it.
Yeah.
So that's why personally developing is as important as like developing our skill or in business.
I believe it's honestly the game changer is.
So do you think most of your clients love you because of how good you train them, or because of your company?
I think it's because I'm funny.
No,
honestly, I genuinely think it's because of how they felt after they either took my class or interacted with me. Because, I mean, as a brand new trainer, I didn't know all of the stuff that I was supposed to know, or the best way to do it, or I was still learning. So there was no way that I was the best trainer around or in that circle. But I did love what I was doing. I was always happy. Like, I always was smiling and happy.
Yeah, and
I tried
can go a long way.
Yeah, and I always wanted to bring the energy. So if you took my class or you interacted with me and we trained, like, I wanted to lift up your energy. And I think by doing that and focusing on that, and it wasn't intentional, it was just a part of like who I am.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I will say the reason why clients have come back to me or requested me or wanted more of my classes has been because of how I made them feel and the energy that I brought, versus how I coach their squats,
yeah.
or, you know what
I
I'm
feel
saying?
like it's at least 50-50. Now that I'm sure there's research, or there will be research on more hardcore statistics, but just from my experience too, at least I feel like it's 50-50, like 50% of what your skill is and 50% of how you make them feel.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna kill you, so like, you're safe. You're gonna be safe, but you know, I'm also gonna give you a good experience. So yeah, I agree. I think they both go hand in hand very much.
All right, just to clarify a little bit. So right now you left kind of like the officey work. You got back. You got into your more creative work, which you picked the fitness world to really pursue. Now, how did you kind of start getting jobs, basically?
I started getting jobs actually because of the internship that I had to do as a part of my certification, which is unique to this certification program, which I really enjoyed that, because I would have probably been lost. It's like, I got my certificate, now what? Like, I guess I'll go apply at 24. You know, I would have not had the experience that I had, which I got to work for 30 hours at a studio that just so happened to be down the street from me, and it had been there, and I never knew it was there until the school gave me a list of studios that accepts interns to go and work for them. So I didn't even call, actually. This is a unique situation, or actually a worthy story to share, because I got my certificate, and now my mom was still on my butt about, like, okay, it's like, when are you gonna go work? When are you gonna go work? You know, the immigrant mindset is like, we can't run out of resource and like money. You gotta work. You have to have a job. So she was constantly in my ear about it, and in a good way. It wasn't like nagging. I just like, I felt her pressure on me. And she told me this story in Armenian called the Japur and Marchun.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I don't know.
Basically,
maybe I forgot.
The gist of it is like, are you gonna be a lazy Japur, like the morning eye crest that you wake up with in your eyes, or are you gonna be a hardworking ant and Marchun? You know, like they work hard. So I don't remember the full story, but it's irrelevant. Basically, I was like, I'm not gonna be a crusty, lazy eye booger. Like, I want to be a hardworking ant.
It's so funny when you translate it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the message is clear. You know, just
the message is there.
So I remember I was at home and I was washing my dishes, and I'm in my just like house clothes, you know, and I'm kind of a personality where you know, an opportunity will be there, but I'll be too afraid to find out the outcome of like, what if it doesn't happen? So I'll keep it a fantasy in my head, and I won't
actually,
you know, pull the trigger to see what that's why I never found out if I passed my initial like test. I'm like, it's better if it just remains a fantasy in my head, because if I find out I failed, that's gonna, you know,
but who cares,
jab at my, yeah, I know, it's just, it's silly. You can. So I kind of was procrastinating reaching out for this internship, and my mom was, you know, telling me that story, and I remember I was washing my dishes and just replaying what she's saying in my head. I was like, I'm not a jaburi, you know? Like,
it got to you.
It got to me, and I turned my sink off, I put the dishes down, and I just marched to that studio because it was walking distance. I was like, I'm just gonna go and take this. So I'm either like all in or all out. And once like the switch flips, I'm just all out, you know? So I marched in, and I went to their door. I'm like, oh man, they're closed. I had all of this like duch, and I just like walked there with purpose. I was like, oh man, they were closed for lunch. I was like deflated, and I was like, you're such a idiot, you know, this is not how you go and get a job. You need to call ahead, set an appointment, dress well, and show up. I was like, okay, don't be deflated, go back home and find out when they're open again, and, you know, try again. So I guess it was good that they were closed, because I got to
prepare.
I had time to kind of gather myself, and I was like, all right, they open at 5, I'm gonna go back at 5 o'clock. So I got myself together, and I went down there again, and the studio owner happened to be there, and I introduced myself to her, and I was like, I'm a brand new trainer. I would love to do my internship hours here with you. Like, hire me or like give me a chance. Like, I'm working for free. It's either gonna work or it's not. So she's like, yeah, come back tomorrow. So
nice.
I went back the next day, and for the next 30 hours of my time there, I was just working the front desk. I was checking people in. I was helping with just like administrative stuff. And I remember sitting at that desk, it was like this. And the first class that I got to witness at the studio, I got chills like from my neck down to my toes, because I was like, I can't believe that I'm here sitting at the desk of a fitness studio, and I'm freaking here. Like, even though I'm just checking people in, I remember the excitement that I had of being there. Yeah. And I will never, ever, ever forget that experience and that moment, because I was like, I don't even care if I'm, again, like working at the desk of the industry that I want to be in, as long as I'm here and not where I was before.
And it's progress, you know. Yeah. It's a first step, and a lot of times that's the hardest for us to take that first step.
100%. You just the unknown, it can be scary, but it's also exciting when you...
If you don't try, you're never gonna know. Like, honestly, the like, I know that's a fear in you, like, you don't want to have an answer at first, but the reality of it is, if we don't try, we're already failing. Right? Yeah. Like, we don't have an answer, we're not gonna... There's zero chance for us to know, even if we got it. So, might as well, you know, get it.
Actually, that experience is what shifted my perspective about the unknown and the outcome, where now I'm excited. I'm like... Good. What is going to come of this? Like, let's give it our all. Yeah. And even if it's not, like, I've learned that even when the outcome is difficult, or it's a failure, or it doesn't pan out the way that you wanted it to, there's so much like treasures and golden nuggets to pick up along the way that really you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life, and in your second, third, fourth, fifth attempt. And each time you're going to pick up even more. So I really feel like the gold is in the process of that, that stage, that rather than actually getting to your goal. So I've learned to love that unknown path and journey, because I'm just excited about what it's going to teach me.
I know, and that's why we keep hearing, you know, enjoy the journey. But unless you kind of experience it in some way in your life, we don't really get it. Like, no, really, it's in the journey. It's almost like, you know, you go through the whole college experience and you get a diploma, but once you get that diploma, it's like, what does this really mean? Yeah, now I can get a job or something, but really if I didn't enjoy the process of the whole thing, that end goal is just not as satisfying. It's such short-lived. So I think that's what I've learned is, you know, like I'm gonna get to that end goal sooner or later, and then it's there, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, well, and then I have to work on a different goal, right? But if I enjoy like the daily and the process of it, then at least I'm like happy throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to find joy and meaning in the process. It kind of reminds me of Thanksgiving dinner. Like, you know how you just spend all day prepping and making.
Because you cook, I don't know.
No, I don't cook. I don't. Like
like just as a general.
As a general thought, because I hear people say this all the time, and I feel it too. I'm like, man, all this work went in for 10 minutes of eating, and I'm like, no, but the joy and the pleasures of this 10 minutes,
like coming together, like prepping it for the ones you love. Like I could see that.
Yeah, if you just snapped your fingers and that meal was there, it wouldn't taste as good.
Yeah,
it tastes good and you enjoy it because of all the labor that went in it.
You're also working hard for it. Yes.
So I truly became a believer of the journey and the process. And I used to hate hearing those quotes until they started making sense in my life. And I was like, I love that quote.
Yeah, that's life for you, right? We don't know what we don't know until we experience it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, in your emails, you had also mentioned that you don't see yourself as an entrepreneur, okay? Because this is entrepreneurship or personal development podcast, and we invited you to come on, but you said, okay, I don't really see myself as an entrepreneur most of the time. So why is that? Can you explain?
I think it has to do subconsciously with the fact that I never thought I would get this far, to be honest. I really didn't. It's funny because when I was a kid, I was going through these questions like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get really dig deep into, like, none of my answers had to do with the actual job. It all had to do with outside life experiences that influenced my job and my career. So growing up, I was never like the academic kid. My brother was. He was always like straight A, AP classes, super academic, awards all over his wall and stuff like that. So, and we shared a room. So I got to stare at his wall every single day. And I remember I came home from school one day and I opened up my old like memory box and I took out these like sports day ribbons from elementary school. I just dug up whatever awards that I could to try and like be the academic like my brother, and I put them on my wall. And I was like, you know, when people come over to my house, my parents will show my wall too. Aww. You know. So I always just felt like I don't have it. I don't have what it's going to take to be successful in life, because you're told like
you were comparing yourself to your brother.
Yeah, very much.
So naturally you were kind of forced to compare, not forced, but you know, it's just we fall into this kind of old school way of thinking, and you were just comparing yourself to your sibling, and that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel? You know,
that made me feel really insecure in my capabilities and if I'm going to have something to aspire to, because I knew that I wasn't the university straight A academic type of person. I have always been a creative explorer, but that was not at that time. Like growing up, it wasn't something that was encouraged, and it wasn't an option.
Yeah,
YouTube wasn't around.
Yeah, and it really sucks because a lot of us felt that way. We didn't have a choice to get into the career. Like even nowadays, like a lot of parents don't encourage like their kids to get into the creative world. You know, mostly people try to make you to be a lawyer, doctor, and in our minds, especially when we're younger, we feel inadequate if like we're not good at those things, which parenting needs to change. It's been changing.
It's been changing, and it's good, and it's okay. Like I look at those things, I'm like, you know what? Our generation is experiencing it better than our parents' generation, and that's the whole idea. It was the same for them too. You know, it's just as how times are changing. I don't blame them. Yeah, but for sure. I don't blame my upbringing or whatever. Actually, as difficult as the upbringing was, I attest a lot of my strength and my abilities to those experiences.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree.
Yeah. You know, like I feel like you're the type of person that knows or gets excited about struggle and hardship because you know that it gets you somewhere good. So with that mindset, I set myself up for, you know, just a life of homelessness because like what was I going to do? How was I going to make money? Who was going to take care of me? I just didn't have this big aspiration, only because I didn't think I was good at anything. So I think that mindset being in there somewhere, and also because of, you know, I don't have like a physical like business location. I've mostly worked as a independent contractor for other studios. I'm starting to grow my own client base. I don't have these like strategies in place. Like I need to scale and I need to like, I'm seeing
I
these,
see.
you know,
yeah.
like
honestly, but most people don't. Like a lot of times when we hear entrepreneurs, like there's so many different levels of it, right? So there's people who are doing like hedge funds or, you know, have like crazy like businesses, like 20, 30 locations. And there's people who are self-employed and are contractor based, but I still see you, like I guess it's just terminology, how you define it, but I still see those people as entrepreneurs because you still have to have those skill sets. You still have to know how to manage your own schedule. You still have to know how to, you know, get the contracts for your contract work with other, you know, studios. You still have to communicate with the client, set that up, have your website, you know. So I really think it's maybe it's a little different scale of entrepreneurship, but I definitely think you do have to have you do have to be an entrepreneur, have that mindset, or have some of those skills in order to be like an effective contractor as well.
Yeah.
So
I'll keep developing that part of myself, and hopefully I'll be comfortable calling myself that one day. I honestly,
but I guess it doesn't really matter, you know, like you can call it, for me personally, like it doesn't matter what titles you put on things. Things are what they are, and many different people define things differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, but no, it's important to be able to, like, I had such a hard time feeling legitimate in what I was doing, so I had to do a lot of work on my mind to match up the growth I was experiencing, because I was like, something is off. Like the growth I'm experiencing in my career, and people, you know, they're like, Roxy, we want more of your classes. Roxy, will you train me? I was like, I almost felt like I was a fraud. Like, how have I fooled these people to think that I'm actually good at what I'm doing? So a lot of the work was with my own mind, and believing that I'm actually good at what I'm doing.
And you'd be surprised, it's so common. Most people feel like frauds. Like literally, I had another podcast we recorded before you two. They're doing really well now too, and they've even felt like they're frauds at like certain point of time. Every single entrepreneur I talk to, even myself, like we feel like fraud sometimes. We're like, wait, is this really like happening? Like,
I think it's called imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I'm like, am I really like am I really worth it? Like, you know, it's also us like learning to value and appreciate ourselves, and actually like letting ourselves like become that new person we're becoming. So I hate that we have to go through that, but at least now we talk about it, and everybody could know that they're not alone. Like everybody goes through that.
For sure. And I think it's really important that you have these discussions with your guests and with me right now to show. It would have helped somebody like me, and I'm sure there's more of us out there that think this way, to know that like, wow, these people who are running their businesses also feel this way, and it's not just me, and maybe feeling this way is actually a part of, or a sign that I'm doing something worthwhile and meaningful, and I really care about it. That's why I have these experiences with these feelings. So I take it as like, it's kind of a good sign that
it is. I really think it is. I think it's a sign that's kind of telling you like, okay, this is what I'm doing, but maybe I want to be the best at it. You know, you're almost holding yourself up to a higher standard to make sure that you are the right person. And I think people that experience this are the people who probably care the most, because they don't want to just put whatever information out there and assume like they're right. They want to make sure that, you know, they're doing the right thing and they're giving out the right information, that they are like the master of what they're saying. Yeah. So I think it's a good indicator and a sign for us to know, okay, at least like I care enough to worry about like my legitimacy about what I'm talking about.
So yeah, for sure, I think it's a sign that you're doing something you care about and it matters to you, and that's always honestly the foundation of anything you do, is care about what you're doing and, you know, give it your all.
So what was your biggest challenge throughout this whole process in growing in the fitness world?
Biggest challenge for myself personally or in the business?
Whatever, how, like just for you that you experience however you want to answer that question.
The one we just talked about, just your mindset. So I think I had to do a lot of work on my mind, and that was challenging. That was a quiet challenge. So it was very internal. But in the business side, I really had a hard time collecting money.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was such I think for an entire year, I just trained for free.
What?
Yeah. When I was holding open workouts at Brand Park, and I was like, donation. Mm-hmm. Do it by donation, like whatever you think this experience was worth to you. I had the toughest time asking people for money for the service I was providing. One, because I think Armenians are just really awkward. Like, we're always the ones like fighting at the register to pay. So for me to like willfully,
an old cultural thing and just some upbringings.
To ask for money is like it's just. We don't even talk about money and finances and all that stuff to even have.
And I think in a lot of cultures and in a lot of households, and I hate that, honestly. I've studied more like of money and like the topics or the questions or how you want to talk about it with your own family, because now that I have my own kids, you know, I want to make sure I don't make the same mistakes that my parents did. But a lot of us are really programmed in so many wrong ways when it comes to money, and not intentionally. It's just kind of like a cultural or like a generational things, as like things evolved or whatever, like our parents or our grandparents went through. Like just the mindset behind money has been so confusing and so different. So I love that you brought that up, because there is actually a lot of like books and tools that people can read and like work on in regards to money, because a lot of people do feel very awkward for putting a value on themselves or their time or their services. And I guess part of it is the mindset work for us to go, or somebody tell you like, it's okay, like you're worth it, you know, like ask for it. It's not bad. Like, we were programmed to as we were kids. It's not bad to ask for what you're worth.
So I think till this day, I still work on that area of my business of
so that was the most challenging part. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the most challenging part was asking people for,
especially things. I feel like maybe because you were doing something you love, you enjoyed, and it was like,
I would like justify it in my mind. I'm like, you know, I get to walk to work, I get to love what I do, I get to have fun, or I really want this business to grow. So what would your
advice be for new people starting out in regards to that? I know you said you're still kind of working on it, but
my advice when it comes to asking for money, don't wing it. Like, have a set plan in place, whether it's the verbiage where like you don't know what to say in the exchange of money. Like, have your fallback verbiage, what you're gonna say. And,
I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
Have a plan.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, when you don't know how to say no. I can compare it to that. Like, I'm one of those people. I have a hard time saying no. So I would say yes to everything, and then I would wholeheartedly say yes in that moment, and then I would go back and say, well, no, on second thought, I didn't want to do that thing, and I didn't want to say yes to that thing. So my fallback became, let me think about it. So I wouldn't say a yes or a no. So I had time to say, process. So my fallback would be, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. So come up with some sort of fallback plan, whether it's what you're going to say or how you're going to act or how you're going to charge people. Like, I'm just going to do it through Venmo, you know? Or
let me send you an invoice.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be it. Like, I'm going to send you an email or an invoice or a Venmo request, so that while you're figuring out this skill and developing it within yourself, so you can look at Yegi, this hour costs this much, and you know, I'm going to be okay. Until you work to that moment where you could face to face and in person go through that transaction, have a fallback. Be like, you know, I'm going to send you a Venmo request.
Because some people do really struggle with that. I've forgotten. I used to actually, when I think back, I've been in the business world for a while now, but thinking back, I used to actually struggle too. Like, I would do a lot of free services. Because my work was in creative work too, in the beauty industry. So a lot of times, it did feel weird asking my cousin to pay when I do their hair.
Yeah, especially with family and friends, it gets really tricky. You're like, I don't know if I should even charge this person. We need to know
our value. And like what you said, my advice, I think what worked for me is I would always, like, even though it was my own company, I would say, well, this is our policy and this is how much these things cost. And then have like a discount that I would give family and friends, because a lot of your circle are family and friends. And if you don't charge anybody, you're going to be broke. This is your only way of earning money, right? So I would say, okay, family and friends discount, 20%, 30%, whatever it is. But it was a thing and I had thought about it, decided. So then after saying, like, even then, after I had decided, the first few, probably like the first 20 times I verbally actually like said it, it was still weird and awkward. But the more I started like seeing it and knowing my value and trying to collect that payment, the more naturally it flowed. Right?
Yeah, so that's a good fallback to have a policy in place, or something in writing. So I like that you just...
And it's the same thing with different policies too. Like, people have a hard time collecting money if people don't show up. It's the cancellation policy, or like deposits and stuff like that to protect your time. Because we want to value our time, especially if it's service-based. Because if somebody's wasting that time and then they don't show up, they don't pay you, then you could have taken another client. You're just losing out on that money. So it's a very interesting thing to think about. It
is, and it's really awkward. It's awkward to talk about it. It's awkward to encounter it, and it's awkward to admit that you have a hard time with it. But I think that having the conversation about it, and to know that other people experience it too, and just like taking tips and tricks from like, well, how did you do it, and how did you
at least like talking about it with other,
it helps a ton. It would kind of like upset me that about myself, that why do I not have that same perspective about myself, where I know I am providing a good service and a valuable service because I genuinely care about what I'm doing, and I genuinely care about my clients as people, and I have a hard time asking for what I know
what you're worth. Yeah. So I guess my advice to that would be just sit down, think about it, of what you're worth and what makes sense to you, and then just practice it. That's all you have to do. Don't make exceptions, like zero exceptions. So if you know you're worth $100, $200 an hour because you know you're good and you know you're gonna put your whole heart into it, that's it. That's what you say. And like that, we end up attracting the right clientele that are willing to pay that amount for our service that we're providing. And almost honestly, what I've learned too, a lot of people value you more if they are gonna pay you more, and and they're gonna work harder for it too. In the past, like I used to do like a lot of like coaching or stuff for free, or like seminars or whatever, like anything for free. Even events, like if I didn't mind doing it for free, I realized that if people don't pay for something, they're not valuing it, and you're not getting this serious audience that are going to value like what you're giving them. Yeah. So you're almost doing them a favor too by putting a value on it of whatever price it is, so then they can appreciate it and take it more seriously as well. So
for sure, you're definitely right about that, because the more expensive something is, the more people think that there's more in that service, or whatever you're getting is going to be worth more to them.
Yes. And a simple example would be, like I've said this in the past, is with us too. Like I could buy just a regular leather purse, probably better quality leather than a brand name leather purse, but I'm probably gonna like cherish and take care of that $5,000 leather purse compared to that $100 leather purse. Way different. I'm gonna make sure I put that $5,000 purse in its container, in its bag. I'm gonna wipe it clean. I'm gonna make sure I don't get any scratches on it because I've paid more for it. But technically it's the same value, right? Because it's still leather. It still is gonna hold whatever I need it to hold. But I've paid more for it, so then I'm gonna take care of it more. So it's almost kind of like, when you think about it, it feels stupid at the same time. But it's true.
But I mean, we do it.
Behavior is,
we do it. So I'm not. We shouldn't be surprised when our clients or potential clients view it in the same way. So
it's human behavior.
It definitely is. So I would say that's been, business-wise, one of the biggest struggles was being able to put a value on my service and my work.
So it's awesome that you're able to get to that realization. Okay, I'm worth this much. I'm going to charge more, and then work on, charging even more, or actually collecting all your payments.
I'll say it's still a growing process for me, but it's a lot better than working for free, which is what I was doing before. But yeah, it's all about just, being aware of your areas that need development and also giving yourself credit in the areas that you're really good at. You're like, give yourself a pat on the back every now and then.
I'm an awesome trainer. I just need to get paid.
Because we have this, like, I don't know what it is. I think also women do this a lot where we'll build other people up all the time. But when it comes to building ourselves up, we have such a hard time with it. We feel like we do the opposite. Like, no, like this and this about me isn't awesome.
Really?
Or like, yeah, we don't believe it about ourselves. I'm like, no, it's like, we
need to self-love, I think that's probably why too in recently there's a lot more information out there about self-love, like take care of yourself, like love yourself, find a way to come to terms with yourself. So I think that's really, really important, and I'm glad you bring it up because a lot of people do have a lot of negative self-talk, and I think the first step to that is just stopping it. Like literally you need to catch yourself anytime you say anything negative to yourself about yourself, even if you think of it. We just have to kind of stop it, be like, nope, like, oh, my hair doesn't look so good today. No, stop it, looks fine.
Yeah,
even simple things like that, it helps.
It does, because I see it all the time in the fitness realm when I have female clients and they come in. It makes me sad because they'll look at themselves and they'll say, oh, I don't like this about myself, I don't like that about myself. They'll show me pictures of like what they want to look like, and a lot of the work is, working on the internal relationship people have with themselves rather than like how many reps and sets and what exercise we're going to do.
How they feel about themselves.
It's honestly, my sessions with my clients feel like it's so much less about the exercise we're doing. It's more about the connection we're building on a human to human level, where we talk about what we're struggling with or how we feel about ourselves.
So it's
or
half a therapy
relationships.
session.
Yeah, it becomes very much like a therapy session, which is another thing that I think my clients, when they experience training with me or they experience taking a class with me, is we're really not focused. The exercise and the workout in the class is really just an opportunity for us to have this other type of connection where, we're checking in on ourselves, we're checking in on each other, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about like being finances, like we're talking about feelings.
Coaching.
Yeah, because a lot of our self-perception, even physically, has to do with that internal work, because I could get you to a place where you're strong and you're healthy and you're fit, but what you see when you go home is not that. You're still seeing the negative. You're still having this perception of yourself that isn't reality. So a lot of...
Wow, that's huge. And like that does set you apart, because... it's almost a different skill set. So if you can do both, if you can work on the mind and the body together as a fitness coach, I think that's gold. Like I really think that's gold, because I personally haven't experienced too many trainers that do that. A lot of trainers that I've experienced are really like, they're great motivators. They're like, okay, keep going. You could do it. Like have a healthier eating plan. But I haven't really come across a lot of coaches that do the mind work. Yeah. So that's great.
Well, I started a class called MisFit last year.
Wow.
It was completely centered around
I love that.
Dealing with ourselves as a whole person. So we would meet outdoors, and this was in the winter time. And I really, as brutal as it was to be out in the cold at 6 a.m. in the morning, there was something very therapeutic about it. Was almost, have you ever been into a cryo chamber?
Yes.
It was like being in a cryo chamber outdoors. It was that cold. Like the grass had icicles on it.
Is that the bathtub one with the salt, or no? Maybe I'm mistaking it.
The cryo chamber?
Yeah,
no, it's like that tunnel thing where you go in. It's like being in a giant freezer. And
no, I haven't. Okay. I
haven't. It's just being cold. I'm sure you've heard of those ice baths and how it's healthy for you. Yeah. So we would meet outdoors, and the first thing we would do is we would journal for 5 minutes, and then we would focus on our breathing, and then we would stretch for 15 minutes. We would do dynamic stretching, and then the last thing we did was a few rounds of a HIIT workout. And during that moment, the sun would rise up from behind a mountain, and there's a lot of
symbolic.
There's a lot of benefits to rising with the sun and getting that first energy from sunrise.
Wow.
It would I'm telling you, the days that I would have that class would be the best days I would have in that week.
Wow.
So I started focusing my work around mind fitness, not just body fitness.
I love that.
Let's work on these other areas to become healthy in our minds, in our emotions for the long run. Like, I don't want to help you get ready for a wedding. I will. I will, especially if you're paying me, you know.
Of course, that's your
that's
job
not
too,
the fun.
but...
Yeah, I get it. I really do. It's not the part that excites me the most. I get really excited when somebody's like coming in like, I've just had a really rough year, or I really just have done nothing for myself, and this is just the one thing I get to do for me. I'm like, okay, let's work. So I think you had a question in there that said, what's one thing that people would be surprised to know about you? Is probably that I know I'm really hardcore in my own training, and like maybe the videos that I put out, or the energy that I put into my classes and the way that I train. I think people would be surprised to find out that I'm not like that with my clients, and this hardcore, like, come on, one more rep, let's go. Like, I'm really gentle and soft, and I'm probably more interested about how you're feeling than how many reps you did.
I love that angle. I love that angle so much. I think we can use more like centers that focus on that.
Yeah, and that's, if I had to drum up this ideal, like,
your
dream
ideal
for, my ideal
or...
business would be to have something that incorporates all of those things.
Oh, wow. Well, you're already doing it, you know, maybe on a bigger scale, but that's awesome. Let me know next time you're hosting or you have one of those morning classes. I would love to try it out if I can.
I mean, 6 a.m. is, it's good to experience a few times. I mean, listen, it's a trade-off. If you're going to live the lifestyle of I'm waking up at 5, 6 in the morning, there's other sacrifices you have to make. And it's usually like time with friends, time with family, being able to go out at night and, you know, have that drink or whatever. So it's a trade-off. I did that for a whole year and I loved it. It was a really significant and meaningful year of finding that discipline. But realistically, I don't want to be doing that every single day forever and ever. I would want to find like some sort of happy medium. Maybe, you know, wake up
almost like seminar type of thing, you know, do it like for a week out of the month, or I don't know, something like that.
For sure.
Oh, awesome.
It's a good experience to have.
Awesome.
Being able to catch the sunrise, I think you should at least do once in your life. Drive to the beach or somewhere in nature and watch the sun come up. It's an unreal experience.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, you'll probably have the best day that day.
Okay, I don't know if I've done that. Have I done that? Sunrise, sunsets I've done. Sunrise, I don't know. Probably not.
Sunsets are cool. Sunsets are cool too. Yeah. It's just a different energy with the sunrise.
Okay.
You almost feel like you get infused.
Yeah.
Because then everyone else wakes up.
The first bits of the energy.
You're getting almost the fresh batch of energy.
Of the new day. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. All right, so here's another question for our listeners. Because, you know, we're always working on ourselves. I'm constantly working on myself. And that's also why I love this podcast, that it's the Yegi Project, because I think we're all a project and we can always grow and be better. So we've talked about some of the past things you've done to get to where you are today. But what are you working on anything currently to develop yourself still and your business as well?
So like I said earlier, a lot of the questions, when I thought about them, the source of it has always been something personal that had nothing to do with fitness and training in my business. So earlier this year, I was expecting to have a baby. So I went through something very personal with that, because I ended up miscarrying at 4 months, which prior to the miscarriage, I was on bed rest for 2 months. That. Yeah, it happens more often than we know and we talk about. So I love that we're able to talk about it. Yeah,
to losing my son. Thank God
Really?
Everything worked out at the end, but he was at 5 months and I almost lost him.
No
but
way.
Thank God, like everything worked out, you know, at the end of it.
Sure.
But I can only imagine everything like you went through, and yes, super common, and I do want to address that for people who are going through stuff like that. There are really like good support groups and people out there who are experiencing like similar issues, and to definitely like seek help and, at least talk about it.
Yeah, talking about it, I think was huge for me, because when I was going through it and the doctors were talking to me, and this was all brand new information to me. I was like, I've never heard about anybody going through what I'm experiencing. I mean no miscarriage,
people
but like
don't really talk about the negative, unfortunately. Not as much as we should.
For sure. And I remember one of the first thoughts that came to my mind, I was in the hospital, and like the doctor's talking to me, and I'm having this realization, like, how come I've never ever heard of this, and this person is telling me it happens so often. I'm like, I have to talk about it. So I don't want it to be an awkward conversation. Like, I'm totally very happy to talk about these things because I think they're so important. But going through that experience and going from being so active on a daily basis to being on bed rest straight for like 2 months was,
even imagine.
I felt like when I got up off the couch, because that's really all I did was just stay on my couch, I felt like my body had deflated like a balloon. It was just, I had never experienced my body in that way, like feeling that weak, not being able to do the things that I was so, without even thought, able to do before. So I had to go through a bit of a journey with my own physical wellness and health to kind of bring myself not back to where I was, but a new place. Like, what is this?
Your new reality.
My new reality, and what do I need to do to kind of take from this experience and apply some changes to my life currently? And I always looked to, not always, that's a lie. I grew to love life's toughest moments. So even though it was difficult, and even though it was heartbreaking and all that stuff that we go through experiencing something like that, I was very hopeful that I was going to take something amazing from it. And I was like, I'm so excited about the future after this experience. Like, what is this going to teach me? What is this going to develop in me and help me grow? So to answer that question is, I'm always looking for, I mean, I'm not trying to bring struggle into my life, but I'm always looking for opportunities where struggle can grow,
make you stronger. I really think it makes you stronger mentally and physically. Mainly I think mentally, because you have two choices when you're going through a hard time. Like, you can either like shut down and literally like shut down and I don't know, negative, go down
and become cynical and resentful and be like, why me, and have that kind of attitude.
Exactly. Or you can just look at it and be like, okay, this is what it is. It sucks. I'm sad. It's horrible. But I have to move on. Like, literally, it's very simple when I put it that way, but those are our two choices. Like, because it's not like we can go back and change anything. It's not like we think about, oh, what if I did this or did that? It's because a lot of people also blame themselves. Like, I was a little guilty of that too, because I was on bed rest too for a long time too. And for a second, I blamed myself, because when initially I was pregnant, I was still like very active. I was working out. Like, we had just bought a new house. So I was like demolishing. I was on my knees. So I was even blaming myself at times. But, but once I was thinking, oh, what if I didn't do that, then this wouldn't happen. But none of that is healthy, because it's not going to change anything. So like, that's why I've learned too. It's like it's literally, we always have two main options. There's always gray area, but we always have two main options: either move forward or keep being stuck in the past. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. And but it does definitely make us stronger if we do, get through it. So I think that's why, for me personally too, I've never minded going through struggles, because at the end of it, it's always made me a more stronger, more resilient person. And it has kind of proven to me that, wow, like, going through like these things, it's gonna get better, like, and although like everything does leave a scar, but it does get better, and we do move on and become like that new version of ourselves who is stronger, or
which is
can
exciting,
handle more, which is exciting. Because you're like, dang, I went through all of this and I'm here again standing today. I'm smiling.
You're
I'm
like, what more
thing.
am I capable of? It really makes you curious about yourself, because when you go through something hard and you didn't imagine being able to go through that or get through it, and you do, you be almost, this curiosity grows within you. You're like, what
and
else can I?
Your
Yeah,
confidence
it does. And
too.
you had a segment where you talked about self-esteem and confidence, and
So
I really like that. And I think we build that through the difficult things that we go through, because each time we go through it, we develop more confidence in our ability to go through things. It's not through the fun and cushy stuff that, you know, we build that. So I became a big fan of, you know, what am I going to take from this struggle?
Bring it on, world.
Yeah, especially when it has to do with stuff that are completely out of your control. You know, like when a disaster happens or something out of your control happens to you, there's nothing you could have done to. Maybe there was, but who the hell knows? Like the unknowns are so. It's kind of like what difference does it make? It happened, you know. So yeah, taking those chances on those opportunities to see what you're made of and build that confidence and self-esteem is really huge. And you carry that with you forever.
You do. You
know, you could learn a skill and be good at it, but if you don't have the confidence to apply that skill, it's just. Yeah, it's there.
And I think too, like for me, now that I think about it, a lot of times like taking action has always been like my secret tool. Like, because a lot of times when we're not taking action towards something, you know, some sort of goal, it could be personal, it could be fun, like anything, and we're going through a hard time, it's really tough, because then we just sit down and think about that like tough thing that's in our life. But if we're taking action, even like tiny baby steps like towards a goal, again, it could be something fun, like even planning a trip or building your new career, or I don't know, building a new closet, whatever it is, you know, but at least taking some sort of action daily, I think has helped me like personally to get through some tough times. So
yeah, I love that you said tiny actions, because it
really
is. Yeah. I was never the person, because, you know, I was gonna be homeless, so what did it matter?
Such high expectations for yourself.
Yeah, I really went for it big, but I didn't take time to develop personal habits. I didn't have any. Let me make my bed, let me do these chores, let me get my homework done. It was always play now, work when I
feel like it,
when I have to, you know. So I had to really start small. I had to start developing really small habits that were the foundation of all the other big things that I went on to do or will continue to do. The foundation is in those small things that we do, like making our bed. And
yeah, that's why I said like tiny actions each day, and everybody starts somewhere, you know, different, but we do need to have a goal and then break it down into tiny as tiny actions as possible. Even if it's getting out of bed at 8 a.m., you know, that could be your first little thing that you work on.
Yeah, when you're used to getting up at, let's say, like, because people a lot of times they're like, I'm like, what time do you go to bed? They're like, 1, 2 in the morning, but I'm going to go to bed at 10 tomorrow. I'm like, no, don't.
That's not realistic.
That's not realistic. You go to bed at 2. Okay, try to go to bed at 1:30.
Yeah.
1:45.
Yeah.
Do it in small
like
increments.
15-minute increments.
And you're able to build your confidence. Like each time you do it, you're going to build your confidence. And
then it's more likely you're going to keep doing it because you've achieved that realistic.
Your brain makes a connection with that happy accomplishment, and it wants more of it. So it kind of, you get to trick your brain to doing the work.
Yeah, you do. And I think one thing I've learned too with habits is you have to have those positive feelings. The more you have those positive feelings, the more likely it's going to be that you're going to build that habit. If you do something you're going to keep getting negative feelings, there's no way you're going to build that habit.
Yeah, that's a good mind hack, because it's even helpful to, when you're doing a task that is mundane or that you don't want to do, to either play a song that you enjoy or attach something fun to the task that you're doing, so that your brain registers it as fun.
That's a cool trick.
Yeah, it's actually when I was looking into just my my work of health and fitness, a lot of the struggles that we as adults have with food and food attachments is because, think about it, when we go back to our childhood, we would go to birthday parties and all these events where all of the donuts and pizzas and ice cream and all of this fun food we associated with fun times. So as adults, when we're looking to satisfy ourselves, get like a happy feeling or a dopamine hit or whatever, when, you know, we're sad or need comfort,
Yeah.
we go for those foods because our brain has associated like these foods make me feel good. So
And actually, just kind of a fun fact, I think Coca-Cola, huge company, I think that's their marketing thing for a long time. It's been, all their ads are relatable to like good times towards the soda. Like when you drink it, if you start paying attention, I'm pretty sure it's like that's their marketing strategy. Like everything is Coke equals feel good time. It's not, oh, it tastes delicious. It's that equals good time because it makes you feel good.
Their commercials are centered around fun. Yeah. So if you could basically just associate something fun with a task that is not fun for you, you're better off in the long run of repeating that task.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we did. I could talk to you forever. We are running out of time, so let's end the podcast with your advice on people who may be interested in getting into the fitness world. What's required, like education or certification wise, and what advice do you have for somebody just kind of starting out?
Well, first of all, it's really easy, surprisingly easy to get certified as a trainer. It's not as easy to be a good trainer. And like you said, it's a very saturated field, but there's enough pie for everybody. Like just
there
because,
always
yeah,
is.
there's always enough pie for everybody. Find what it is that you care about. Really, what you care about and what brings you fulfillment is what's going to generate you giving your best to it. So for me, that was getting in touch with people's feelings. Like I love talking about feelings. I could sit here and talk with you for hours and hours and hours about your personal feelings. So I used that passion and infused applied it to my job, where I'm not just giving you a workout and exercises. I'm checking in on you and I'm connecting with you on a very personal level because I'm very willing to go there with feelings with you and be open with my own feelings, and that then allows other people to feel comfortable being open with their feelings. And that has been a part of what I brought into my niche, or the thing that stands out among other trainers. So
I love that. I love it so much. I haven't heard of it. Honestly, that's great. That's
really?
a great angle. Yeah, it is. Because overall, like, I know how important our mind is, and feelings that go with our minds too. It's so important. And in an earlier episode where we talk about even just 10-minute exercise can dramatically make somebody feel happier a day. You know, it could be nothing. It can physically make zero difference on your body, but you will in your mind feel like, ooh, I look better.
Yeah,
you know, it's mental, you know, and so that's why I think it's such a big connection. So for a trainer to kind of have that background to connect those two, I think you would have such good results with your clients, because they're not only going to get the physical results, but they're going to recognize it and feel good about all the results or progress they're going through.
Yeah, mostly when you're feeling good on the inside, your perception of your external self improves, because literally nothing changed about you from last week to this week, but how you're feeling on the inside. That's why I do 4-minute Tabata workout videos on my Instagram.
Oh, it's awesome. Everybody, we need to check it out.
I try to throw some dancing in there too, like dancer size style stuff, but it's literally 4 minutes out of your day to get you moving, to get some blood flowing, to put you in a better mood and get you excited about working out, and not thinking of it as like, I gotta go and like press and lift, put all this heavy weight and do all these crazy things to get the benefits of exercise. Like, no, you could just spend 4 minutes of your day and get
I think it's how we look at it too. I think more and more people are realizing it's not hard and dreadful and like difficult, not for me. Like more and more I think people are realizing that, oh, it could be fun and easy and
it
great.
Should be fun.
And
you should enjoy doing it.
Yes.
Which is the last thing I would probably say is, whatever you're doing is have it be something that people leave with a good experience when they interact with you. It doesn't have to be that you're the best at what you do, that you have the most degrees, that you're the smartest or whatever. Just make whatever you're doing something that people have a good interaction with. And I think that would be a good foundation for you to start with whatever you do.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time, Roxy.
Thank you
for
too.
coming in person and going on this podcast journey with me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you even more throughout these questionnaires, but in sharing your story and your, hardships and all of that with our listeners. I'm sure everybody is going to get a bunch of ton.
A bunch of ton. That should be one word. A bunch of ton. I think that should be a word. I'm gonna just be saying it.
I'm sure everybody's going to get a ton of good value out of this podcast. Again, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you, and we'll link all your information below. But if you can just tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can connect with you, that'd be our sign off.
For sure. Well, I'll first say that thank you so much for having me as your guest. This has been a first experience for me, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you realize what inspiration you are to people who encounter you. I definitely feel inspired.
Thank you.
The biggest thing that I take from you is try. Like, just try and give yourself a chance to see what happens. So I really admire that about your personality, and
thank you.
You really just go for it. Like, why not me? You have that mindset, I feel like. So I really appreciate that. But you can find me on Instagram, is where I'm popping the most. So yeah, my Instagram page will have all the information you need to get in touch with me, to see what classes are coming up, what new things I'm doing. So the new year is coming up. There's new stuff in the works. So yeah, at MisFit.fit, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, see you there. Thank you again. Bye to our listeners. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.